Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to this talk today. My name is Antonia Forster, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the XR Technical Specialist for Industry here at Unity. I specialise in enabling industry leaders such as yourselves to use virtual reality and augmented reality solutions to push the boundaries of what's possible in your field. If you're attending this talk, you're probably already aware of the crisis that's been going on for a long time in terms of training. If not, then let me paint a picture for you. Many organisations still rely on traditional lecture-style training or on paper-based learning through documentation or booklets or leaflets. However, these methods are known to have very low engagement and therefore low retention rates. The National Training Laboratory Institute reports just 5% retention from traditional lecture-based or paper-based learning methods. You can see a clear trend here in the official learning pyramid produced by the National Training Laboratory Institute and attributed to Edgar Dale. Interactive teaching methods have much higher retention rates than passive teaching methods. In particular, the more different types of input that we have, the more we tend to remember. When we listen to a traditional lecture, or when we read documentation or a booklet, we're only engaging one type of sensory input. If we introduce more input sources and we move down the pyramid, we tend to remember more. Once the trainee is actually participating and interacting with the content, we see retention shoot up. If they're discussing the issue, they should remember about half of what they've learned. If they actually kinesthetically get hands-on and practice and participate in the skill, they'll retain about 75% of what they've done. Historically, this has been achieved with on-site training, by recreating a scenario and teaching a user how to react. Both classroom-based or paper-based learning methods and physical on-site training have their downsides. Classroom training, as we've seen, is passive. It only uses one or two input sources and has little to no interaction. Therefore, it leads to slow learning, poor retention, and high rates of error. Also, it isn't adaptive. You tend to have one linear lesson plan which has to progress at a set rate for everyone. One person may already have a high level of expertise and be bored, while another person is struggling to keep up. Classroom training can also depend on location. Unless you're delivering it over Zoom, but as I'm sure we're all well aware at this point, Zoom fatigue is a very real thing. And finally, classroom-based training requires a trainer or presenter to be available. Physical or on-site training results in much quicker learning and higher retention. But to do this, you need access to facilities and equipment, which may not always be possible, particularly in our current global circumstances. It also has associated costs, as well as all the complications of scheduling and of travel. One-on-one training is better in terms of adaptation. You can adapt the speed of learning to each person, but that isn't really scalable. With on-site training as well, it's very difficult to get analytics to track the progress of each user and how successful they were in the training, unless you deliver a pop quiz at the end. But that isn't a very popular thing to do, and that doesn't really measure someone's skill in actually completing a training task. And again, this all relies on a presenter or a trainer being available. So what's the solution here? Well, you probably won't be surprised to hear me say that I think the ideal solution is in augmented and virtual reality. 81% of companies, perhaps including your own, have said that VR and AR will be mainstream in their company within the next 3 to 5 years. The vast majority of companies are investing more in VR and AR every year. And nearly all companies who haven't yet adopted VR or AR do believe that that technology will revolutionize their workflow when they are able to adopt. VR and AR can both be used to streamline processes, to save time and money, and to unlock completely new possibilities at nearly every stage of a product lifecycle. Whether that's visualizing prototypes in VR, reducing your reliance on physical prototypes and their associated costs, whether it's marketing your product or your ideas in augmented reality to get stakeholder buy-in, or using either of them for 3D asset review. But training is one of the biggest and most popular use cases for both VR and AR in a number of industries. A 2020 PwC study into the efficacy of VR training found that VR-trained employees are 275% more confident to act on what they've learned, compared to those learning in a classroom. They also learned 4 times faster, and were shown to be more engaged with the content and more emotionally invested in their success in learning the content. Not only that, but because VR training courses are scalable, the same PwC study found that VR training achieves cost parity with classroom-based learning when you have over 375 learners. And it achieves cost parity with e-learning at just under 2,000 learners. This parity actually occurs much sooner if your organization is global, so training needs to occur over multiple geographic locations, or if your employees need refresher courses, and so on. So if this applies to you and your organization, then XR training really is a no-brainer. Faster learning and higher retention aren't the only benefits either. Immersive training is interactive and adaptive. Every trainee can go at whatever speed they need to. You can very easily get analytics and track each employee's progress. It's completely location independent and schedule independent, perfect for your busy global teams. And all of that results in lower costs. So that's all well and good, and maybe you've even got so far as to create a proof of concept about how VR or AR could be used in your industry to deliver training. But one of the biggest challenges is how to scale beyond those proof of concept projects. How do you bring AR and VR training into real production at scale at an enterprise level? Well, typically you have 2 choices. The first is to develop software yourself in-house. This means the training will exactly match your bespoke needs, but it requires a team of technically skilled people or developers to create the content. It also requires appropriate infrastructure to distribute the training, to track analytics, and to manage and maintain the content. All of that requires software updates and maintenance too. Or the other option is to pay someone to create the content for you. But then there's the question of how to distribute, track, and manage that content, unless you also pay someone to develop that back-end infrastructure. In that scenario, you'll often have to pay per module. And it also means you're tied to that specific vendor for maintenance. Neither of those options are very scalable or flexible, and both those routes can be expensive. So what's the third path? Well, the ideal solution really is a commercial off-the-shelf software, or COTS software, that specializes in the need of VR training. Such a program would allow you to create your own bespoke VR and AR training without needing to code, and would take care of the back end for you. Something with simplified content creation tools so that you don't need any programming skills to get started. Ready-made environments and templates to save you time and money. And also end-to-end management so you can deploy the training across your organization, see analytics, and maintain your content with updates and support. Unity and Pace recognized this need and teamed up to be able to offer you PaceLab Weaver. I'll now hand over to Josh Swanson, Head of Extended Reality at Pace, to tell you more details about Weaver, what it does, and how it can help you and your organization. Josh, take it away.
Thanks, Antonia, for that brilliant introduction and overview on VR training. Now that I'm sure you're all convinced about the benefits of VR training, let's talk about how Unity enables you to not only get started, but also to implement into enterprise-level production at scale. And that's what Weaver is all about, making VR training more accessible, more practical, and frankly, more realistic, helping companies move beyond the proof of concept phase and to bring VR training into reality. So what is Weaver? Weaver is a Unity-verified platform that extends Unity's core product to a complete VR training solution by further simplifying VR training content creation on one end, along with offering a more connected end-user training experience and a web-based portal for managing your entire VR training environment. On VR training content, Weaver enables you to create VR training faster and easier than ever before. It's a visual programming tool with literally hundreds of built-in scripts and utilities that provide you everything you need to create VR training environments and scenarios, and without writing a single line of code, which means that if you're already an experienced Unity programmer, you can develop much faster and create significantly more content in less time. If you're not a Unity programmer, say you're a training designer or content creator wanting to bring your skills in training creation to VR, you can start creating VR training experiences tomorrow without needing to learn how to code. You can create training for VR devices like HTC Vive and Oculus Quest, and repurpose the same data for AR experiences on HoloLens and other devices, even mobile and tablet devices. If it's possible with Unity, it's made easier with Weaver. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always found it challenging to open and use VR training applications, especially for those of us who aren't already experts using VR. That's why we developed the Weaver Player. I affectionately call Weaver Player the Netflix for VR training, meaning that the user only has to open one single application to access and launch all of the training that has been assigned to them. No more hunting and pecking around the desktop for files and folders. Weaver Player is also a way for training managers and instructors to maintain control and a visibility over who has access to what content and on which devices. And most importantly, Weaver Player makes VR training easier and even more fun to do than it already is. Speaking of control and visibility, what do you even do with a VR training application once you've created it? Where does it live? How do you distribute it to the end users? Which users have access to it and who don't? Which users have opened it and gone through the training? How do you set up multiplayer training environments? How do you get data from the training usage? These are all challenges that our community has faced and have largely been addressed so far with expensive one-off custom developments. But now with Weaver Manager, there's an out-of-the-box solution. Weaver Manager ties together your end-to-end VR training environment with content hosting, content distribution to the end users, user assignment and management, easy creation and control of collaborative training sessions, built-in analytics, learning management systems integration, and so much more. It makes VR training manageable, affordable, scalable, and extensible. And that's just training, which of course is our focus area of Weaver, but there's another aspect of skilled work other than skill acquisition, and that's skill in operation. Our philosophy is that training and operations go together, and that as much as possible we should learn just as we do, and do just as we learn, including how we do these things, and what methods, tools, and technology we use. That's why we've made it just as easy to create and manage AR applications for real-time operations. Things like digital work instructions, digital work aids, and remote support, utilizing the same data and same Weaver platform to provide the same experience to the end user. So I know that was a really quick overview of Weaver, and I wanted to take a chance to again highlight that Weaver is a Unity verified solution, but we're not the only one. This point speaks to the value of Unity and the ecosystem of partners and solutions that they're creating, meaning that you're guaranteed to have the right blend of solutions for whatever problem you're trying to solve, and that they all work together seamlessly around Unity's core technology. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please come see us at the Unity virtual booth if you wish to learn more about Weaver or any other Unity solution. We look forward to talking to you. Thanks again.